Hey you guys, it's Peter and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And it is a beautiful fall day outside. I'm going to sit on the patio and read. I have like 2 different books that I'm reading and an audiobook that I'm listening to. So I'm going to do that this evening. But I have 2 meditation books, the Melody Beatty books, which you guys know are my favorites, that I thought we could read from today. I think yesterday I read from Journey to the Heart. So today we will read from the language of letting go. I don't know if it's the 22nd or the 23rd. I feel like it's the 23rd. Let me look in here and see what I read last, and then I will know. Embrace Change was yesterday, so it's the 23rd. So let's read the language of letting go. Let's listen. Let's just listen. The sound of silence. I do love kind of like just listening. Do you guys, it's a funny saying to listen to silence, but I actually drive around often and have like no radio, nothing on, and I just kind of like sit and listen with my thoughts to the sounds of the world. And I talk about that over here a lot too, you know, that I'll sit outside and I'll kind of like just listen to the sounds of the world while I kind of get myself prepared for the day and just, you know, do my meditations and my prayers. But after that is when I typically sit there, just like with a cup of coffee or a glass of water, and I'll just sit there and I'll just kind of like listen to the world. And it's really, really nice, and it really helps me focus and realize that I am part of this bigger picture, you know? But it also kind of helps me realize that I'm just one small part of the bigger picture, but an important part, you know, and my part is important. But it makes me feel connected to the universe on some level when you see the birds flying around and you can hear them and you can hear, you know, a lawnmower down the street or, you know, people talking as they're walking or whatever. So, all right, let's read today's meditation from the language of letting go. September 23rd. Let's see what it says. September 23rd, tolerance. Tolerance, I have to tell you, is not probably one of my favorite words in the world, by the way. So this will be interesting meditation. September 23rd, tolerance. Practice tolerance. Tolerate our quirks, our feelings, our reactions, our peculiarities, our humanness. Tolerate our ups and downs, our resistance to change, our struggling, and sometimes awkward nature. Tolerate our fears, our mistakes, our natural tendency to duck from problems and pain. Tolerate our hesitancy to get close, expose ourselves, or be vulnerable. Tolerate our need to occasionally feel superior, to sometimes feel ashamed, and to occasionally share love as an equal. Tolerate the way we progress, a few steps forward and a couple back. Tolerate our instinctive desire to control and how we reluctantly learn to practice detachment. Tolerate the way we say we want love, and then sometimes push others away. Tolerate our tendency to get obsessive, forget to trust God, and occasionally get stuck. Some things we do not tolerate. Do not tolerate abusive or destructive behaviors towards others or ourselves. Practice healthy, loving tolerance of ourselves, said one man. When we do, we'll learn tolerance for others. Then take it one step further. Learn that all humanness learn that all the humanness we're tolerating is what makes ourselves and others beautiful. Today I will be tolerant of myself. From that, I will learn appropriate tolerance of others. So let me tell you part of why I don't love the word tolerance. I don't love the word tolerance because I feel like, you know, personally in my own life as a gay man, I feel like I've had oftentimes people that I felt tolerated who I was as a person, that I could tell that they were really off-put by the fact that I'm gay or that I'm married to a man or whatever, and that they just tolerated me, you know? Which I feel like when we do that with people, when there are pieces of somebody that we only tolerate, we're really missing the full picture of who they are as a person, you know? When we aren't really willing to look at what our issues are that are keeping us from being able to, I guess the opposite, I've always been taught with character defects that when you have a character defect in your life to practice the opposite, right? So I guess the opposite of tolerance to me is acceptance. I guess then when we aren't willing to accept somebody for where they are, or to meet them where they're at, then it's like we tolerate certain things about them. I understand what this meditation is saying, especially in terms of ourselves, that we have to tolerate certain things about ourselves, or, we're going to constantly be driving for perfection, which is not a healthy place to be, right? I mean, none of us are perfect. So if we're driving for perfection, we're not going to get there. But when it goes back in here and it says, hold on a second, right? Second rate. Hold on a second, not second rate. Tolerate our fears or mistakes, our natural tendency to duck from problems and pain. Tolerate our hesitancy to get close, expose ourselves, or be vulnerable. And then it goes on to say, tolerate our need to occasionally feel superior, to sometimes feel ashamed. I understand all of that, right? But I guess the issue for me is, it's very rare that I get on here and I say that I don't agree with a meditation necessarily. I guess my issue with that is that I'm such a believer in inventory and evaluation, that if there's something in my life that I'm just tending to tolerate about myself, right? My mistakes, ducking from pain and problems, the need to feel superior. I feel like those are moments to not be tolerated, but moments to be evaluated. I feel like those are moments to take a look at ourselves and say, why do I have a need to feel superior in this moment? Why do I feel a need to tell on somebody? Or why do I feel a need to be encompassed in fear in this moment? What is that getting me? Instead of taking a look at that fear, instead of taking a look at that need for superiority, right, then we just tolerate that about ourselves. I think from time to time it's okay. Like, I'm not a person, I'm very much a believer in being kind of in the middle, So it's like, I don't want to be constantly sitting down, writing out inventory, and constantly looking at every aspect of my life. I don't think that's healthy. I talk a lot about inventory and evaluation on this channel, but I don't believe that that's healthy. I don't believe it's healthy to constantly, right, just be like, okay, I have to sit down and look at this. I have to write it down. I have to take a look at this. And I don't think it's also healthy to be the opposite of that, which is where you ignore all of these things about yourself and just tolerate them, okay? Tolerating to me means you look over something, that you just kind of like, I'll deal with it because I have to, but I don't really want to. Instead, I would think that those would be moments for education, that those would be learning experiences, learning moments to look at those things in your life, right? I understand what Melody Beatty is saying here, obviously, because it would be such a bad look to go against Melody Beatty, right? No. I mean, I can disagree with the meditation. It's not that big of a deal. But, I mean, I understand what she's saying is don't be so hard on yourself, is what she's saying, right? That there's going to be moments of your life that you look at yourself and you're like, I just kind of have to deal with this because I'm not perfect. I get that, right? In doing that, that allows us to be more open-minded to other people, to look at other people and realize, well, if I'm not perfect, they're not perfect either. That is a learning experience from this meditation. I don't know, for me personally, at least at 48 years old, that I'm at a position in my life where I just want to kind of go, well, look over it and move on to something else. Today, when I'm experiencing something in my life, whether it's lack of patience, or it's a huge fear in my life, or I'm looking at, what was the other things that it said in here? Like, let's just say I need to be perfect or whatever. Those are typically things that I take to my sponsor. Those are typically things that I take to paper, and sit down and think about and take a look at and say, why do I have this need in my life to be superior today? Why do I have this need in my life to have people look at me this way? What do I not have inside of me that needs that outer validation from other people? I've talked about this a lot on my channel, that I am somebody that has needed validation from others much of my life, right? Well, today, I know that the reason why I needed validation from others was because I wasn't getting it from those I wanted it from, or that I needed it from, right? Or craved it from. That I got it from my mom, I got it from my dad, I got it from friends and family, like family friends, but I didn't get it from my schoolmates. I didn't get it from my peers. I never got that kind of acceptance, I always got tolerance, which is probably why I hate the word tolerance so much. That people would be in, class groups with me because they had to, not because they wanted to. When you're somebody that's picked last, literally, okay, from first grade all the way through high school, you are the last one picked for any kind of group, literally. I know I'm not the only one out there. I was picked last, and I haven't talked about that a lot on here, You really feel the truth of what it feels like to be tolerated by other people. Okay, I'll deal with you just because I'm being told that I have to, but I wouldn't if it were up to me. That is tolerance, right? No, I'm not real okay with tolerance, you know? I'm just not. I'm not okay with tolerance for myself either. I'm big on self-love, and if there's something about myself that I'm tolerating, then I need to take a look at that and say, why am I not willing to do the work on this today? Don't I want the best for myself? Don't I expect the best for myself? Because I love myself enough to know that I deserve the best today. You deserve the best today. Each and every single one of you out there deserves the best. Each of us, right? And, you know, like that's where it's like people say, well, really like horrible people don't deserve the best. Well, that's the work for them to do. That's not my work, you know? Like we all have our own work to do in this world. And you'll never get bored of it if you start, trust. That's where like, I guess one of my biggest pet peeves is when you meet somebody that's unteachable. You know, they're like, there's no greenness there whatsoever. They've learned it all. You can't teach them anything. And I think that one of the reasons that's a pet peeve to me is because I feel like, I guess maybe not even such a pet peeve, is it makes me kind of sad. I feel like they're like missing out on so much, you know? When I learn something new about myself and I discover something new about myself, and even if it comes from a mistake, right? It's a new perspective. It's a new paradigm. It's a paradigm shift. It's a paradigm shift in how to look at the world. And then I get excited. I'm like, oh my God, I never saw it that way before, right? So it's all in that. No, I'm not big on tolerance, and I don't think that I'm going to back down from that in this meditation. I just don't. I don't love the message of this meditation. I don't. I'm a bigger believer in that anything that presents itself to you as something that you would have to tolerate are really great opportunities for growth and opportunities for change. And, you know, don't we want those today? Don't we want to continue to grow and be the best version of ourselves that we can possibly be in any way whatsoever? So, interesting meditation. Interesting. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. I guess if people ask me like, well, what do you do with that then? Like what I would say is if it were me, and I started having these things that, you know, like it's making a character defect list. What are things I tolerate about myself that I don't necessarily love? And then you sit down and you make a list of these things and you look at them and you say, okay, these are the 4 or 5 things about myself that I don't love, you know? It was funny because I wish I had it. Tanya tagged me in something on Facebook today, my best friend Tanya. So for years, okay, I've been somebody that has always ran 5 or 10 minutes late, always. And at times, it was even a lot worse than 5 or 10 minutes late. And I could tell you stories about where that started from, and maybe on my vlog I'll talk about it, or maybe I have, probably, you know? But there's no excuse for it. And the majority of the majority of the people in my life are people that are very on time. And so it was probably, I don't know, 2 years ago that I really made a conscious effort to always be on time to pick Tanya up. And so now I'm like literally like, if she says 7 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock. It might be 6:59 even, you know what I mean? So she put this meme up and it said something like, when your best friend is supposed to show up at 7 o'clock, but they're always late, and your best friend shows up at 7 o'clock, and then it says it's not your best friend or something like that, you know? Because it's real funny. But, like, that's a good example, right? And I had to learn from listening to other people why, like, because to me, honestly, 5 or 10 minutes late didn't seem like that big of a deal. But when I started listening to other people and what they told me, I really realized, you know, that it is a big deal. Now I'm somebody that I'm on time, okay? Like, I know, like, if you've watched my vlog consistently for the last couple of years, you'll know there was a period where I wasn't. And now today, I'm on time for stuff, you know? And it makes me look at the world in a completely different way. It makes me, you know, look at myself being on time or others being on time or being late in a completely different way. And so when you learn a lesson, you go through this cathartic change, right? And you aren't just looking at time or respect for other people or getting your stuff done early. All that. You're not just looking at that stuff, right? As reasons, you know, like what you're going through, like for example, with me, you're learning greater lessons out of all of that. You're looking at greater lessons of like how to look at people and what lessons I need to learn and what that says about myself and things like that, right? So there's so many lessons to learn out there. Why would you want to just tolerate some of this stuff and look past it? I don't, you know? At the same time, not every day do we want to be study day. You know what I mean? Some days we just need to relax, and maybe that's where the tolerance comes in. Maybe on certain days, it's just like, you know what, I'm not going to beat myself up too hard today. Like, I've done a lot today. I've worked very hard. You know, I'm hung out and done this and done that, and I made dinner and all this kind of stuff, and I'm just not going to beat myself up. And maybe that's where the tolerance part comes into it, I think, probably, you know? So anyway, let me know what you think in the comment. I think probably. I think probably. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.